Dunkirk, in its own right, was a successful film dealing with three aspects of war: the sea, the air, and the land. It won three Academy Awards: Best Film Editing, Best Sound Editing, and Best Sound Mixing. And the three stories interleave. They're very much about the individual. Tom Hardy's pilot, the story of the boats coming across to rescue the British troops trying to leave Dunkirk, and the chaos and the fear of trying to get off the beaches. Okay? It's again another massive ensemble piece, but it does show how the stories intertwine. And in many respects, Dunkirk represents, Britain at its best. In defeat, we managed to create a miracle. And there is quite a strong line in some academic authors that ultimately 1940 and 1941, when Britain and its empire of 700 million people, but Britain largely stood alone in Europe, kept Western society, Western democracy going. And Dunkirk sort of typifies that attitude and that effort. Virtually all of the investment in armored equipment had to be dispensed with at that point in time, but you start seeing the need to bring the troops back, to bring them back safely, and the way it was achieved was an unbelievable effort by everyone involved. And the film shows this remarkably well. At the time, there was a degree of controversy at not showing colonial troops as part of the evacuation from Dunkirk. And in that, most people talked about British colonial troops, and particularly Sikhs and others from the British Empire. Yeah. And I think that was a little bit of a distraction to a certain degree for two reasons. In terms of representativeness, yes, I think Christopher Nolan could have made more of an effort in that regard, but it was not intended to be a comprehensive story of the evacuation. It was three fine vignettes welded together over the better part of 3 hours. But the second point is there were colonial troops there. The fact they were French colonial troops, that they were part of the French Empire from Africa, went completely uncommented on in that controversy. So I think it's a point you need to consider. We want representativeness. We want to make sure that history shows all of the sections of society that were involved in major conflicts. I think in this case, perhaps we will forgive Christopher Nolan for overlooking that particular issue. It would have been good if it had been included. So if you want to start looking at past highly decorated Second World War movies, I would start with Dunkirk. And the reason being, it is a story of determination in adversity, with much tragedy as well as some success. And I think that's really worth considering. And it may well be that with Oppenheimer, Christopher Nolan achieves far more. It is, I think, 11 nominations this time round, and has been cleaning up quite a lot in the other award ceremonies. If you want to think of another Second World War movie that again was highly decorated in terms of the Oscars and other awards, but actually has great value in itself as a piece of work,